Welcome to the People's Verdict. Remember that we ask the questions while you, our dear viewers, make the verdict. And I'm your usual host, Patrick Soko, and today on the program I've been joined by Citizens First Party President Hadi Kalaba, who is going to help us discuss the matter bordering on governance issues and the rule of law. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much for having me, Patrick. It's good to be here, and thank you for having me.
Thank you. And to just get started on the program, we haven't interacted on this program as the Citizens First Party leader. We want to first of all find out how is the Citizens First Party settling in the political landscape.
Well, the party is having its own market share, and I remember that in the last elections in 2021, I came out third in the elections out of 16 competitors, and we have been building from there. The people of Zambia are looking at us. They are looking at how well we can galvanize support, and we have remained an issue-based political party. We have continued focusing on the substantives because this country, I think, is polarized. It is divided on small issues. We begin making politics around them. I think for us as Citizens First, it is to front-load citizens. It is, as the word suggests, Citizens First. It's to make sure that citizens have the first seats in the affairs of this country, be it in mining, be it in agriculture, be it in everywhere, because this is the only country that the citizens have. And we have made it a point ourselves to make sure that what the Kenyans are doing, what the Rwandese are doing, what the Ethiopians are doing, can also be done in this country. It is high time Zambians took over the affairs of their own country. We are tired of always having outsiders being in the front seat. It is high time that we deliberately had Zambians driving the agenda.
Interesting. Well, today we are discussing the governance issues and the rule of law. And to just get started, we want to, first of all, get your perspective on how you think we are being governed by the United Party for National Development, UPND. Are they living up to the expectations based on what they promised prior to the August 12, 2021 general elections?
Well, Patrick, I think for me that is a question that our viewers out there are able to answer. I think the question is, during the last 2 years of the UPND in government, has the UPND helped you and I to have the cost of living that is affordable? As this government, which promised cheaper meal, do we have the cheaper meal? This government has been in office for the last 2 years. Have they helped Zambians get businesses which they couldn't get? They have been in government for the last 2 years. Have they managed to create an enabling environment for the private sector? Have they managed to get the vendors they're chasing from the streets and give them an opportunity to also play an economic role in their own country? If that is not happening, we are talking the talk.
Interesting. Well, we also want to learn from you as a political party. We have seen that while we have seen other political parties complaining that they are being victimized by the UPND administration, those that we have featured on this program have suggested, coming from the UPND, they have suggested that it is the enforcement of the rule of law and that only those probably who have committed crimes are being followed by law investigative wings. And just today we also saw that the Socialist Party leader, Fred Membe, was actually before the police and he has been arrested. And what do you have to say? Is it the rule of law or you are still suggesting that there is political victimization?
Soko, first of all, I want to commensurate with my brother, Fred Membe. I feel very saddened that 59 years after our independence, we have continued to victimize political opponents. We have continued to step on other political parties' interests or in a quest to maintain power. And Mr. Hakainde Hichilema must know that he himself, in the last 23 years that he was in the opposition, he went through a lot of these things. What Mr. Membe is going through, I went through it in Kalulusha. I was detained by the police just for going to have lunch at a member's residence of our party. They detained me. They came and wanting to do tear gas in the environment of somebody's home. And this is continuing. And if those who support Mr. Hakainde Hichilema cannot see that his heavy-handedness in the management of affairs is not right for this country, then I don't know. If there was anybody who was doubting that this man does not know what a democratic dispensation is, the arrest of Comrade Fred Membe must be your answer. I don't think in a country like this one, we should be seeing what we are seeing. All out of settling scores. We need to see leaders going beyond the aspect of settling scores. You can't be using the presidential office, or indeed any government office, to settle personal scores. It should never be like that. But that's what we are witnessing every day in this country. And now it has become a norm. We all thought that since Mr. Hakainde Hichilema had gone through a lot of challenges himself, coming into government, he was going to sober up and allow people to be free in the exercise of their own freedoms. But it has been a total disappointment. It's been a situation where he has done the exact opposite of what we all expected. And there we are now. Today they have arrested Fred Membe. Tomorrow it will be Harry Kalaba. The other day it will be the other ones. That is why our colleagues who are out there, and you think that what is happening is only happening to one opposition political party, you are making a mistake. You are making a mistake. Because today it is that person. Tomorrow it will be you. Where I come from, they say, Ushuila mtembo wa mnangwe. No wako we know upokwa. This thing must come to a close. It must come to an end.
But they are saying that these people have committed offenses. So are you suggesting that they should ignore any offense that might have been committed in fear that probably they may cite them for being or victimizing the opposition political party leaders?
Look, I don't think that when I was detained myself in Kalulushi for having lunch at a member's residence, I'd committed any offense. I was only having lunch. And the police said, you didn't inform us that you have come here. You should have told us. Which law tells you that when I'm in a place, when I'm in Chambishi, or whenever I'm in any place, I should inform the police? Which law says that? There's no law which says that. But because they want to use the long arm of government to intimidate political opponents, we are having a challenge. We are having a problem. That now we are supposed to be victimized. We are supposed to be now harangud. We are supposed now to start fearing that it should not be like that. I think he had an opportunity of really showing the whole world that he is different. He is just ordinary. And in fact, for him, it's even becoming to be very worse because the man is only 2 years in office. And look at the heavy-handedness. He wants to behave as if he was born with President Muminwe. And all of us should not be talking about it because Interesting. We'll not allow him.
Interesting. Well, our dear viewers, in case you are just joining us, so you are watching The People's Verdict. And in studio, I have the Citizens First Party President, Mr. Harry Kalaba, and we are discussing governance issues and the rule of law. You are free to join us, especially on our social media platforms, by leaving us a message and tell us where you are watching us from, as well as leave us a question for the President to respond to. And also you can send us those text messages to the number that is on your screens in case you wanted to join the conversation and ask our guest those questions. So now, moving on the program, Mr. Kalaba, I also want to find out, because there has been the issue purporting to the related to the Public Order Act, which we have seen successive government using to disadvantage the opposition. And the UPND, upon ascending into office, they did assure that they are going to revise the Public Order Act. And if you were mentioning about your arrest during the previous elections, and the police were using the same law to disadvantage you from campaigning. Now, we are seeing that this has continued also to drag. But in terms of revising this act, what would you recommend as the Citizens First Party?
Well, look, I think for me, first of all, it is to hold the UPND accountable for the words that they had said. The UPND had said once they formed government, they were going to completely annihilate the Public Order Act. They were going to do away with it. They have not done that. What the UPND instead has done is to make some changes to the Public Order Act. We are still supposed to inform the police within 7 days or 14 days notice you give them. And then if the police refuses, now you can appeal to. I mean, is that what we want? Because that law is a cake. That law was used by the colonial masters to suppress the freedoms of the Africans at the time when they were fighting for their independence. We have carried on with bad habits. And the problem with power is that you begin seeing a law that is repressive as good when you get into power. That is why we need to begin challenging these things, even when you go into there, because what is good for the goose is also good for the gander. Now, we see that our colleagues in the UPND, who had pontificated the fact that they were going to annihilate the Public Order Act, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema said once he goes into government, he was going to ensure that the Public Order Act was done away with. Today, as you and I are speaking, it is still there. Mr. Hakainde Hichilema was in the opposition, had said once he comes into government, the access to Freedom of Information Bill was going to be enacted within 6 months of his being president into law. It has not happened. What has he done? He has appointed a commission of inquiry to go around asking the same questions, which you people have already answered as members of the press. Now, this is the problem that we have. Dishonesty. In every sector, they have planted a lie. In every available sector, they have made sure that they tell you a lie, which they cannot live up to. And that is the challenge that we have. I think, for me, this is where we are getting it wrong. If you were not happy with certain laws when you are in the opposition, why do you want to carry on with them? Because after 5 years, in fact, after 3 years for him, he's going to go out of power. Believe it or not, President Hakainde Hichilema is a one-term president. And because he's a one-term president, he will have destroyed his UPND party. Because the same things that he should have used to redeem his political party, whoever will take over from him in opposition in 2026 will have a challenge. Because they'll find that what they should have done, they didn't do. From the way things are going, from the escalating prices of meal, the high cost of living, people are literally struggling to make it every day. Mr. Hakainde Hichilema will not go beyond 2026. Mark my words.
Why do you say because the argument is that they are taking development to all parts of the country.
Which development?
Under the Constituency Development Fund, CDF, which they say has been increased to 28.7 million, that Zambia has been turned into a construction site. And come 2023, the Citizens First Party will have no campaign messages because they would have done everything. That's the argument by the UP.
You know what? If they are going to give the farmers cheap fertilizer, I'll be very grateful. If the UPND is going to bring down the price of meal from the current 305 to even 120, I will be grateful. And I'll say it on this TV. If the UPND is going to help us allow those children they have given free education have access to desks and have quality education, I'm going to congratulate them here. If the UPND will bring down the cost of transport, moving from Mbala to Lusaka, if it will become cheaper, we'll congratulate them. This issue they are pushing of CDF, as if CDF is the answer, is a wrong notion. If CDF was the answer to develop a country, why don't they have it in Paris? Why don't parliamentarians have it in London? Why don't they have this CDF in Washington at the Congress there? Why don't they have it? CDF was an idea mooted in Senegal. The Senegalese members of parliament wanted to be having quick access to resources to maintain their constituencies. That's where we borrowed that idea from, way back in 1994. And you just can't wake up because of lack of governance skills. You just can't wake up and say, this CDF is going to answer the problems. What will answer the problems of this country is serious introspection, Soko. What will answer the problems in this country is to stop giving tax holidays to foreigners and be giving tax holidays to our own indigenous people in this country. You have removed subsidies on fuel. You have removed subsidies on meal. You have removed subsidies on electricity. All because you want to please the ones who are running the mines. Because you think if they are happy, then you are also happy. But look at the Zambians today. The price of fuel keeps on going up. The price of meal keeps on going up. The price of electricity keeps on going up. Today, if you buy electricity for 200 kwacha, in an average home of about 6 people, you will not manage to finish that 200 kwacha. Why? Because it's just not enough. The tariffs are too high. These are the challenges that we are having today. And to have a situation where we continue eulogizing, celebrating a government that has not even moved an inch in developing this country, We keep on talking about the increment of CDF. It's not helping because, Sako, talk to people. Who are you talking to? Talk to real people. They'll tell you that 28 million they have raised. Who is it helping? Who is it helping? It's not helping the people. If it was helping, the challenges we are having with street vendors would have finished. If that thing was helping, the cooperatives, people getting fertilizer, it would have enhanced it. If that CDF was working, we would have seen SMEs being empowered. That is not happening. So when you come and tell me, just show me one constituency in this country which has managed to spend the whole 28 million kwacha in a year. Just one constituency. None. Starting with Garin Kombo. None. Ask Garin Kombo when he comes here. Ask him if in Mazabuka he has managed to spend the 28 million. It's not there. So they bring things on paper, and because they're typical people who don't want to tell you lies, they start going around, they begin populating an idea that, look, we have CDF, we have given constituency CDF, and because of giving constituency CDF, now this is going to answer challenges. That's not true. CDF is a scam. This is what I've always said. That
Why do you say it's a scam?
It's a scam because the money is not there. The money is not there. The money is just on paper. If a constituency receives 4 million from the figure of 28 million in a year, they are lucky. That CDF, and they keep on saying we have increased CDF, we have increased CDF, but the results are not in tandem with their parroting of them having increased the CDF. And we sit here and say no. And the other day I saw on TV, and please, I saw on TV from very distinguished members of the clergy who went to meet the president, and they were congratulating him for increasing CDF. Please, if you the clergy want to be doing that, you are suffocating the interests of your own people. It is not right, because the CDF which you were congratulating Mr. Kainde Ichilema over has not helped anybody. Then you go and sit in that state house and you're telling him, thank you for the hard work you have done, for the CDF you have increased. So what if he has increased the CDF? It is not on paper. That's why I'm calling it a scam, because the money itself is not there. It's just hot on paper. I was member of parliament for 2 terms in my constituency, Bahati. We used to receive during my time, I think it was 1.6 million kwacha that time. What 1.6 million kwacha was doing was more tangible than this 28 million kwacha I'm talking about.
What's your thought? Before I also make a follow-up, let's pick this call. You are through to the People's Verdict. Good afternoon.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Yes, may we have your name and where you are calling us from?
Yeah.
Muri ku Camnet. Landeni tumfu. You can go ahead, sir.
We have seen the greater compactors. People are being employed. What not the sinner? So what is Sakala talking about? It's lie. Total lie. Sakala come you are going to believe. Over.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, you too can also join us on the People's Verdict in case you want to add your opinions on the topic of discussion. And in studio we have the Citizens First Party President Hali Kalava, and we are discussing governance issues and the rule of law. You were responding pertaining to issues bordering on CDF, and our caller is just arguing against that, saying they have seen graders, they have seen compactors, and the CDF is working.
Look, if they have seen graders, congratulations to you. You know, I'm not here for jokes. This is a very serious platform I am at, and I don't want to waste my time on arguing with somebody who wants to bring a debate that is hollow. I think we're talking substantive issues. I have said, show me one constituency which has received CDF amounting to 28 million. And I've said, start with Garin Kombo, the Minister of Local Government. There is nobody who has received that money. The compactors is talking about is something that has been happening since CDF was introduced. We bought graders, myself and as a member of parliament, with 1.6 million. So what is strange now about that? We used to repair when roofs are blown off in clinics and schools. We used to provide those monies from CDF to do that. So what is strange about that? What is going to bring development to the people is by decentralization. Heavy investment in decentralizing, in making sure that development or monies from the local authorities begin getting used at that level. You have got a place like Northwestern Province, for instance, with about 4 or 5 mines in there, and yet the roads in Northwestern Province have remained pathetic. What requires to be done is to say, if we're going to decentralize, 10% of whatever is going to be produced in Northwestern Province will remain in Northwestern Province, so that you can build schools in Northwestern Province, you can build colleges, you can do roads, you can do all kinds of social amenities in Northwestern Province as a result of the monies that are coming from the mines. That is not happening. We have seen, Soko, that these football teams you are seeing, Bamufrida Wanderers, they came as a result of KCM. Bankana, Chambishi, all those teams you see on the Copper Belt, they came as a result of social corporate responsibility by the mining companies. Why are we not having a strong team coming from Northwestern Province? Up to now, the mines are still making money. Nothing is happening. It's because the social corporate responsibility levels have collapsed. These are real issues we're talking about. And if somebody can say, no, everything is fine, Mr. Kalabadea is a liar, and you use the word liar, you failed to use the term liar on the president, on the UPND, which has been giving lies at every turn. They don't even have the shame to apologize when they tell lies. They don't have that shame. They'll just say lies, they get on with it, without even saying, oh, I think here we made a mistake, we should not have said this. They don't do that. They have continued to govern people in that fashion. And when we speak things like this, my brother who called, it's not personal. We are saying it because we want to speak for you. We have that responsibility to talk for you who cannot speak the way I'm speaking here. And when we're trying to help you bring out issues, instead of you agreeing with us or just keeping quiet where you are seated, you want chairman, minister, those cheap politics must come to an end.
Well, there you have it. Now, let's move on, Mr. Kala, from the issue of CDF. But before we move from the CDF, there has been an argument that under the term you served, even under the Patriotic Front, there was CDF was selectively distributed. And on the platform, the president has argued to say he's providing CDF to each and every constituency at once. But before you respond to that follow-up question, let me just pick this call. You are through to the People's Verdict. Good afternoon. May we have your name and where you are calling us from? From Katete? Okay, you can go ahead for your contribution. Okay, thank you very much. I think, but the line is pretty bad.
I didn't hear him, yeah?
Try to call. I think the line is pretty bad. Are you able to position yourself where you can have good reception?
Yeah.
Okay, do call us back, and we want to get your views so that our guests can respond to your concerns or your questions. I was asking about the follow-up Elida was giving, provided CDF, as we move on.
Look, I think for me, what I know is that the Constituency Development Fund, even when I was in government, was being released to all ministries. I mean, to all constituencies. This is the reason why the UPND thought in their wisdom, members of parliament who had never been in the executive arm of government, they thought by increasing the CDF, they were going to sort out a lot of issues. They didn't know that government was vast. They didn't know that they could have still used other revenues or other avenues of generating revenue or using revenue to help projects that are in the peripherals or those that are in districts and constituencies, because they didn't understand that every structure of a district has got a DDCC, District Development Coordinating Committee. They also didn't know that there is the Provincial Development Coordinating Committee, the PDCC. Now, they have killed all these structures because it is the Provincial Development Coordinating Committee that would sit to look at the monies that the province has. Now you get all the monies and you collapse it in a constituency. They're getting money even from ministries like social welfare ministry. They're getting money and putting in CDF. It's not the way it should work. This is what happens when people don't want to ask, when they don't have knowledge on how governance must happen. They'll start doing things without understanding fully how these things should operate. And there we are today. You see what is happening. It's a pity. In my own view, they could have done better. Totally, they could have done better as opposed to what they have done. The CDF thing is a myth. Get it from me. It's a scam, and it's a failed project, which you and I will come and affirm here in 2025, 2026 before we kick them out by UPND.
Let's have a look at another interesting national matter. You did touch on it when you were explaining some of the issues bordering on some what you termed as failed promises. We are speaking about the issue pertaining to agriculture and also issues bordering on meal. Meal is Zambia's staple food, and unfortunately, we have seen that the price of this commodity has continued to increase. But before I finalize that question, let's pick this call. You are through to the program. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, may we have your name and where you are calling us from?
Yeah, this is Dr. Piri.
Mr. Piri, you are calling us from where?
From Kasenengo.
Okay.
Wow.
Kasenenga, how is Kasenenga this afternoon?
Yeah, you're doing fine?
Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, you can go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah, I just want to contribute by my issue my PTF.
Okay.
Yeah, PTF ni kuli nikambona ni news kama. Because waipendi bata safety kupata wanoma PTF. Only mastongo ndo apata, lakini within province. Ma constituency na kulipe ma PTF. Kuna ma constituency aliko. Ma kifuna ni ma PTF ya kuendea. Zambia ni built everyone. So, make it paper for your president Ankara. Please continue speaking for poor people. What Zambia is a different country. And well, trouble that my president, I got an idea. Kikana mandazi ya Zambia, that was when I take a fertilizer. Not even fertilizer I put from other countries, but it's just nice one for that fertilizer. So the mistake not by my president. What I got from my president? That is how things like that. So our president is like a different Bakuri, continue mobilizing, think background, disaster results in Ireland. Mr. Province, it has been in agriculture, but see, you can give a supply and agriculture, supply that. There's nothing better than that in Western Province, Kunjara, Kunokumawa. Ndama kuipe, Kimanga, fertilizer zero. Sasa mwana the farmer is a farmer, but now not a farmer. Farmers, huh? What kind of country? Huh? Please, Mr. President, to guide your party, please continue operating.
All right, I think we have gotten your point there, and on that one, it's just complimenting you. But I want to speak to the issue that borders on meal, and we have seen that the price of this commodity has continued to increase. And as Citizens First Party, do you have a commitment on how you would help reduce this price of the staple food, or what advice would you give to the governing party? And we had a press conference where we saw the UPND spokesperson, Cornelius Mwetwa, addressing the press, where he indicated that the price of the commodity can only reduce probably in 2024, and that's after various mechanisms are put in place. Now, what would be your take on that as you give your advice?
Look, first of all, I'll tell you the truth that the price of meal will not come down in 2024. If you have failed to reduce it in 2023, how will you reduce it in 2024? Those are jokes that Cornelius Mwetwa is talking about. And even him, he knows that it's a tall order for them, because these people are involved in lying, as you know. Secondly, You were talking about mealie meal being a staple food. This caller from Kasenengwa is telling you that people in Eastern Province are crying. Eastern Province has been a food basket for this country. They have been relying on cheap fertilizer to grow bumper harvests in Eastern Province. And God in his infinite wisdom has allowed the rains to continue in Eastern Province, Luapula, Northern, Muchinga, and those areas, Central Province. Too much rains. Here in Lusaka, there is no rain. There's no rain in Southern, there's no rain in Western Province, there's no rain in, So, why doesn't government do a deliberate policy of allowing places like Eastern Province to begin getting more fertilizer because of the rains that they're having? But today, a government which was telling us that they were going to give people for an hectare, they'll give them 4D compound and then 4 urea. You know what they're doing now? They go to a cooperative which has got 90 people and you give them 12 packs. How are they going to share? So people again are sharing their one can fertilizer. Mameda. So these are people who don't have a focus. The only thing which will bring the cost of mealie meal down in this country is what we will do when we form government ourselves, is to make the cost of production cheaper. Let fertilizer become cheap. That's why we are proposing ourselves that we want to begin building fertilizer plants across the country, here in Zambia. Why are they still getting fertilizer from Ukraine, fertilizer from Russia, fertilizer from China? Why? It's because they have given their friends contracts to bring in fertilizer. They have given their friends big contracts to bring in all these things that the farmers need so they can continue sharing the loot between themselves. This is how this country is losing. Especially those who are in Eastern Province, we should be feeling pity for them. They are struggling, literally struggling. And the government doesn't care about it. They don't care. They are all telling you CDF, we have given them CDF 28 million, and I hear there's also another joke of saying that they're going to increase the CDF now from 28 million, they want to take it to 36 million. Jokes of the highest order. Just jokes. Even before you assessed 25 million, which you gave them first, even before you assess how it's working, you say, no, we're taking to 28 million. Even before you assess 28 million, we're taking to 36 million. These people are not here. They don't know where they're coming or going. Because a serious person, even I can draw an analogy, Soko. Before, they cook shima for you in a small pot. Even before you finish eating the shima in the small pot, that we are increasing now because we've got enough meal, we are increasing the pot. So that even before you said, no, we should even get another pot. It doesn't work that way. These people, it's trial and error. Now, the mistake they have made is that they have played with the mealie meal. What chased Vakaunda in 1991 in this country was mealie meal. And because Vakaunda couldn't handle the mealie meal properly, the people rose and kicked him out in 1991. If the people did that to Dr. Kaunda, this one will be spared. He will also be dealt with in 2026 so that he goes and he continues doing whatever he was doing before he became president, because people are suffering. Even drugs in hospitals, there are no drugs in hospitals. No drugs in hospitals. People are buying medicine, kumunada. People are buying coatem, kumunada. That's why they are going to get medicine. What type of thing is this? We have to be serious with governance of the people. We can't have a situation where you go to UTH, the cancer department there are no machines working, there are no drugs there. What type of a nation are we? Honestly, what type of a nation are we? It's so sad. So sad.
Now, Mr. Kalaba, Zambians have always argued to say, you politicians, when you are on the platform, you are in opposition, you speak for them. But when you are given an opportunity, you start thinking for yourselves and you ignore the people.
Look, me, I'm not an ordinary politician.
What distinguishes you from other politicians?
Listen, Soko. Me, I was a civil servant for 10 years. I'm a technocrat. After being a civil servant for 10 years...
Can I take that? Or I allow you to respond. There is a call.
Oh, please go ahead and take the call.
All right, before, what on to your thought? You are through to the people's verdict. May we have your name where you are calling us from?
Hello?
Hello? Yes, good afternoon, madam. You are through to the people's verdict on Camnet TV.
Yes, I'm getting you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, madam, and thank you for calling. Your name and where you are calling us from?
I'm Mrs. Mansakori from Kitwe.
Mrs. Mwansa from Kitwe. All right, you can go ahead with your contribution, Mrs. Mwansa.
Yes, for President Bakalava Munsanso.
Mayondi fe unole sale palaka tuishimwa kukitwa.
Mkwai na tapo big pari CDF. CDF yomunela tutaibomba so that's why when I got the road is very bad where it's taking Alexander. Even in the Matimuni, the Mamoto Kayente, Mulende Kobi, no. So I don't think so that the OCDF in the Igamo, they won't have a Bella about this. Bapela Ava, Sala, Emo Bapela. That is the problem, yeah.
Oh, we lost that call, but we did manage to get your point. But you can still call before the program comes to a close in case you still want to contribute. Our guest, like I earlier alluded to, is the Citizens First Party President, Mr. Hari Kalaba, and we are discussing governance issues and the rule of law. And you were responding to what distinguishes yourself from other politicians, and you started by stating that you are a civil servant.
I was telling you that me, I've been a civil servant for 10 years. And even when I was given an opportunity to be a minister of government, I was a foreign affairs minister, and I resigned when I saw that things were not the way they should have been. If I wanted money, if I wanted to continue pocketing money, I would have continued as a foreign minister. No one would have chased me. I would have continued in my office. But because I didn't agree, I am not an ordinary politician. Remember, me, I am the only one on record. Go and check your facts. I'm the only one on record who had even refused to get the furniture loan which they give ministers, 350,000 to buy their furniture, buy TVs, microwaves. Me, I refused when I was given that money. If I was an ordinary politician, I would have said I'm getting it. I never moved out of my residence. When I was appointed as minister, I remained in the same residence I've been as a civil servant. I stayed there. I even refused the police to guard my residence. I said, the community around here, we have got neighborhood watch. I'll be part of the neighborhood watch. So if I was a politician, it would have been time to begin showing off that now I've got all these facilities. I didn't get those facilities. When I became foreign minister, it took the president to insist that I needed to have security at my residence. That's when they brought security at my house. I didn't have as lands minister, as deputy minister, I didn't have those things. I never drove a JRZ vehicle myself over weekends or during working hours. No, it was the drivers driving me. Never would you have seen me in front of a JRZ vehicle driving. I used to drive my own private vehicles. So, an ordinary politician would want to benefit from the job that they've been given. My job was to see how can we help this country? How can we help people get out of poverty? How can we? I'm the only one who said, this furniture loan you are giving me, let me take it to the Survival Cancer Department at UTH. Let me donate it. All these ministers we are hearing and all these, they're getting all these monies. They are quiet as if they've not even gotten any money. They're quiet. Why? Because they're politicians. I am not one. And so I have demonstrated before, when I have been given the chance, the grace by God to serve in government, that I'm not an ordinary politician. So that is what makes me different. And I stand up for the people of Zambia. I say what is correct. I cannot accept what is happening today, where Mr. President of ours and his UPND, they are busy pontificating foreigners. Today in this country, Chinese are owning land. Today in this country, Lebanese are owning land. Today in this country, foreigners can own land and they can even begin selling land. Today, foreigners can start even lending money to citizens of a country. What an insult. Let me become president. That cannot happen. No, that cannot happen.
No, the question is that you mentioned two key important national policies. I'll bring you to the issue of CDF. And I'll also bring it
CDF, you have heard even the woman there. They are saying that CDF, forget about it. Don't be cheated by the UPN.
Now, you mentioned that issue of CDF, Mr. President. Now you were just mentioning this other development pertaining to how you would want to govern. Next issues pertaining to land. Now, when you are given an opportunity by Zambians, does this mean that you do away with CDF completely as Citizens First Party, or you are also going to make sure that you undertake land audits to make sure that the right people are owning land in this country?
Look, I was lands minister, so even the ZIUMIS, the Zambia Integrated Land Management Information System that they are getting from Israel, I'm the one who started that. Why did I do that? Because my view was that every Zambian must own land. That was my view. Every Zambian must own land. But I went to Rwanda to understudy them, how Rwanda has managed. Rwanda has got a population of about the same population like here in Zambia, 20 million people. In Rwanda, 17 million people have got title deeds. In this country, 20 million people, only about 2.8 million people have got title deeds. The rest don't have. And even that 2.8 is because of the ZIUMIS process, which I had started. Because ours was to make sure that everybody must have land. And this thing is going to happen. When I become president, we will make sure that every citizen, as you are getting your NRC, you should also be getting your land from the Ministry of Lands. You cannot just be the only thing you have is an NRC and a voter's card. It can't be like that. So we want Zambians to own land. That is why I find it very offensive that you've allowed foreigners to be selling land to Zambians. That is an anomaly.
So others would say,
the land audit you're talking about, land audit, we know that some people have gotten land just for speculative purposes. Land banking is what we call it. They get land and they're storing it, and then they begin subdivisions, 1 by 20 by 30, 20 by 30, 20 by 30, 20 by 30. Those things will be called into question. And we know who is behind this. It's outsiders. They are buying new chunks of land. If you can't own land, you can't own the nation. You can't. So, and nobody is talking about this from the UPND. They're just talking CDF, we have increased CDF, CDF, CDF. They can't talk about what really matters.
The argument is being where they are just continuing from where the PF left in terms of land governance.
When people of Zambia elected them, they didn't elect them to continue, and they should not even be hiding behind the PF. Everything that they don't like about the PF, they have done away with. Everything that they have done away with everything concerning PF. What they have kept in fire, and then they'll say, no, PF started this, so we have continued. Hypocrites. Christ would call them brood of vipers. You know, we don't want that kind of being hypocritical the way they are being. We need people who are genuine. We need leaders that are going to stand for the people of Zambia. We need leaders who are going to say Zambians need to own land. Why is it that land now is in the hands of many foreigners? The president can use his Land Acquisition Act. He can rely on the Land Acquisition Act to make sure that people like Soko start getting land for themselves. You know, even in our poverty, we must have dignity. In Saudi Arabia, Soko, even if you marry a Saudi Arabian and you stay in Saudi Arabia for 100 years, for as long as you are not born there, you will not get land. In China, I was Foreign Affairs Minister. In China, even the place where the Zambian government is having its embassy, they are renting from a Chinese, and they are paying not less than $20,000 a month, renting from a Chinese. Here, we have given them land. They all have land. And yet the principle of reciprocity in diplomatic circles entails that you have to scratch my back if I've scratched yours. If we give you this, you need to give us as well. But they have not, because in China, even if you live in China for 20, 30 years, 40 years, you are not going to get land in that Chinese of theirs. But us here, we even see leaders even drinking coffee with them and saying, no, we are going to give you land. Just the other day, I was reading, they're saying we have given land to Kenyans for them to begin growing. Wherever the president goes, is giving land. Wherever he goes, is giving land. So I'm like, where is he getting the land from? Because his first preoccupation must be ordinary citizens. And I'm telling you, having been Minister of Lands and Environment, we will ensure that Zambians begin getting land. You will see what you have not seen in this country.
Forest Reserve number 27. What are you doing about it?
Forest Reserve number 27. When I was Lands Minister, it was brought to my attention to degazette Forest 27. And I said no, because of the aquifer which is in that area. I said, we are not going. Dr. Kaunda knew about Forest 27. He left it because he wanted the Lusaka City place here to be having good water. But they have shared it, and you know what the UPND told you? When we come, we are going to grab plots from Forest 27. Now you find that UPND leaders are busy building in that Forest 27. They've got plots there. They are now building because they are saying, no, I think in Jubida, Uchabekangono, Apaka plot, they are busy getting my plots quietly, you know, in Forest 27. A leader doesn't do that. A leader doesn't do that. We want leaders that are going to stand by their word. What is not right is not right. Those that will cause sin by its rightful name. Not this what we are saying. So nobody is talking for Zambians. Nobody is talking for Zambians. And we ourselves are saying, once we come into government, what we want is to make sure that if you're a civil servant, you save for 5 years, you qualify for a mortgage. If you're a civil servant, you save for 10 years. Remember, I was a civil servant myself. You save for 10 years, you qualify to bring in a vehicle duty-free. Duty-free vehicles cannot just be the prison of members of parliament. No. We need to have outstanding journalists like Soko, Camnet TV. They need to be recognized by government because it is the responsibility of government to look after both the private sector as well as the government sector. We need them to begin identifying how can we help Camnet. Camnet is promoting good governance. How can we help Camnet expand, grow its influence? It's by ensuring that you interact, you interface. Now, the only time we hear leaders talk about Camnet is when people have come here and they have chopped them into pieces. Then they are busy now calling, is that Camnet? And now we are Camnet. Don't just call them because you want to defend your reputation. Call Camnet TV as well when you think that they should go to the next level. That is how CNN has grown. That is how Fox News has grown. That is how these medias you see in Germany, in France, have all grown. It's as a result of a deliberate policy by government.
Thank you very much. Now, moving on to still on economic matters now, I want us to talk about the issue bordering on KCM and Mopani mines. We did have an assurance from the Minister of Mine, Mr. Paul Kabuswe, who did assure us that they were going to make the announcement pertaining to KCM as of the beginning of this month, but that did not happen. But however, we wanted also to tapping into you as a political party leader regarding these issues pertaining to KCM. First of all, what are the repercussions of us delaying to revive, for instance, Mopani mines, as well as, for example, address issues pertaining to KCM and Vedanta? What repercussion does that have, especially on the economy pertaining to the copper belt and Zambia's economy in general, given that we are a mining-driven economy?
Look, yes, I agree with you that we are a mining-driven economy partly because 70% of this country's exports is coming from the mining sector.
Exactly.
And yet in terms of GDP, it only amounts to about 12%.
Exactly.
Even trading is now beating our minerals, exports. Now look, the UPND, when they were in opposition, they had said that they had a list of investors who were ready to go and take over Konkola copper mines. There had people going into Mopani. It was all jokes. They didn't have anybody, these people. So I don't understand what type of people they were. For them, every sector they had to hoodwink people. They thought they would just get away with it like that. They didn't have an idea. The president came and addressed the nation. And he said, that was January Soko, remember? He said, by the end of the first quarter, which was March, he said, everything is moving, the wheels of what are working. You have heard who's going to take over Mopani and who will have taken over KCM. What have we seen? Today we are in August, remaining with about 4 months before the year finishes. Nothing has happened on KCM. Nothing has happened on Mopani. Why? Because they are not serious. They are not serious. They should not be playing with the lives of people. The copper belt as it is today, the people of Mufulira, the people of Chililabombwe, the people of Chingola, Kitwe, Ndola, mention them. These people rely on companies like Konkola Copper Mines. That's where they survive from. Now, what has happened is a shame in this country. Government is talking about bringing in Vendetta. Let us wait and see. But remember that Vendetta in 1996, they're the ones who bought Konkola Copper Mines at that 15 million US dollars. And they went and started laughing at us. The levels of investment that Vendetta has done in Konkola Copper Mines, when you compare to what was required, is not in tandem. There's been a problem there. We used to have a lot of deaths happening when Vendetta was there. Honorable Richard Musukwa, the former Minister of Mines, the other day was on radio, and he explained in detail the liabilities that Vendetta has, and that to save Mopani, to save KCM, government had to take that decision so that government's assets can be protected. But these people have said, no, it's a matter in court, so we can't just do away with them. So when you were telling us that when you come back you have got an investor, you didn't know that the matter was in court. They knew the matter was in court. It's a lack of seriousness on the part of this government. And the people should see on the Copper Belt for themselves that they don't care about them. The president will go on the Copper Belt, he will just talk politics, greet people, post on his Facebook page, we have now landed, pray for us, and then we are taking off, please pray for us. That's all he's doing. He has no idea of how to lift the people of the Copper Belt out of the current quagmire they are in. The Copper Belt is right now in trouble. People are bleeding. People are dying, early deaths on the Copper Belt. Every day that I wake up, I find a message, oh, today akuchidilo, oh, today shika, bachipona fie, oh, people are just collapsing because BP on the Copper Belt is too high, because a man wakes up, he doesn't know what he's going to provide for his family. That is the dire situation we are in. It's a question of life and death. This government doesn't see it that way. They lied that they had a solution. They didn't have. And up to now, they don't have a solution. They don't know where they're coming or going. And it's a pity. They are failing to make decisions on KCM. Why? Because there's that English adage which says, do not be too friendly with the bird you are going to eat. There is no way you can be drinking wine with Vendetta in the night, and then during the day you think you're going to take hard decisions on them. You can't do that. You have to be straightforward, both in the night and during the day.
Well, let me take this last question as we come towards the program, the end of the program. I'll ask this question on behalf of our viewers. But before that, let me pick this call. You are through to the hello. You are through to the program. Good afternoon. Bueno Bwanji.
Nilipo na barabara basogolei. Anibwela nili munjila imwe. Nibwela manje manje huko.
Okay. Hapa kigameko.
Kambani timvere.
Ndiyapoza.
Wae mukambira choncho.
Every day, I don't know how that you will welcome Kampala. You can target for finance minister or Mera is there. Not the very stuff of finance in the Yakala. A president who has a Bukwadi, what they are. You have to say, the president to us, Raka in the Dina. But I never was about that. You never go and going on. But the road by the road of the Basila. This one I go to an hour. One is a suffering. Can you go there in Makala? One go there at present. Now I think when you go to get a one hour so much of life. I can pray in the rest of there.
Thank you very much.
Zikom.
Thank you very much for your contribution to the program. I was about to ask a question pertaining to street vending. We carried a story where you were talking about government should have considered empowering the vendors before chasing them, but others have argued to say now the seat is clean, and that are you supporting illegalities, and that let's say the challenges that came with street vending, others selling alcohol just in the CBD. What do you have to say about that?
Look, Wasoko, I think let's be real. We are in Africa. When people elect a government that is going to help them, the government should have done what we have been talking about. First of all, what they should have done is to call the street vendors. Sit down with them. These are your people.
They argue that they sat with the people.
And then give them, they didn't. These people don't tell the truth. They didn't. That's why people left their merchandise, and in the morning when they found police was there. Why not give people 2 weeks ultimatum? Let me tell you the truth. If I was president, I would have also found a way of saying we cannot continue with street vending in the manner we're doing it. But I would not have even chased the police, sent the police there. What we would have done ourselves as citizens first is that we would have said, one, we are going to make sure that everybody in the market stands will have to use their market stands as collateral. The way they're doing it in these other countries in Shalumbole, because they have my ideas, they just seated there listening to me, and then once I give them these ideas, they will even start saying, this is what we have done, this is what I've done. They have failed to create desks. We are telling them that when we come into government, we will stop importing desks, we'll be granting desks from here, give desks, but we have not taught them the formula of how we will do it. That's why they are fidgeting, they have failed to achieve. Now listen, for us who would have said, use your stands as collateral. Reduce that joke of CDF of 28 million. Cut it by 20-25%. 25% has to go, part of it will have to go to the market so that the people in the markets can begin accessing loans, serious loans, to take them out of their current poverty levels. You just tell them, for you are going to get a loan of about, every 6 months you can get a loan of 50,000 kwacha. Just using your market stand as collateral. You can go to the bank, you can go to CEC, or they'll give you a loan of about that much, because we'll have gotten these jokes of money, that this scam of CDF, will have gotten 20% and taken it there. The people themselves about the street, because they will have heard that their friends are getting loans in the markets. On their own, they will leave the streets to go in the markets because they have seen that this is what should happen. You don't even have to chase them. Just on their own. Then you tell them, you'll be trading here. Go and get a loan. We can't have a situation where it's only ministers and permanent secretaries and who are getting loans from Ministry of Finance. The people like you and I have to go and get loans from Indo-Zambia Bank and Zanaco and APSA at 37%. Those are Shylocks. People cannot, what business will you do? You go and get a 2,000 kwacha. You're supposed to pay back about 50% of the amount. So it's difficult. That is what should have happened. Not this thing of just waking up, you start chasing street vendors without providing a solution. What takes people, first of all, on the streets? The first thing which takes them on the streets is poverty. Have you dealt with that? The president was saying, I went to Italy, it was clean. I went to France, it was clean. I went to Stockholm, it was clean. I went to London, they were clean. But here, we should remove the street vendors. You cannot take that action on the basis of what you want to Momo Inole Lulumbomo, or you see what others. Those people have built their structures properly for them to be where they are. He just goes and says, I think this is clean. Even me in Lusaka, they are going. He should have taken time, even to warn them for a month. You allow them after a month. Then you can, those are your people, they voted for you. And then I read in the paper the other day that we don't care about those street vendors, even if they are not the majority who vote. If those don't vote, because Kusinda, you have heard what he's saying in Sinda, that in Sinda the price of meal is too expensive. He's saying that FISIP, now we are saying the FISIP program, farmers should now begin getting loans instead of getting that fertilizer they have been getting all along. Or because you have agreed with the International Monetary Fund that you cannot give poor farmers proper fertilizer, and now you're saying they should get loans. How would they get loans? Just destroying agriculture. If Dr. Kaunda was destroying agriculture the way this government is destroying agriculture, he would not even have lasted for 27 years. What kept Dr. Kaunda in government for 27 years? What kept the MMD for 20 years in government? What even kept the PF to some extent 10 years in government was because of agriculture. You play with agriculture. The way our colleagues are playing with agriculture, they are lucky that they even came in government. And the 5 years they have had is enough because they are playing with the people's prosperity and stability.
Thank you very much for finding time to be with us on the People's Verdict, Mr. Kalaba.
Thank you so much, Mr. Soko, for having me. I'm happy to be here, and it's always a pleasure to be here. And we thank you that you found us worthy to be on this program.
Thank you very much. This is where we have to call it a day on the People's Verdict. But always remember
and
that...
stop listening to CDF stories.
Yeah, interesting. We'll continue to bring you guests to discuss various national matters here on the People's Verdict so that you will continue to exchange ideas. Remember that on the People's Verdict, we ask the questions and you make the verdict, our dear viewers. And remember that on this platform, we also respect divergent views. And those of you who managed to call through on the program, we thank you. And those of you who couldn't, we could not take every call because we had to allow our guests to respond to some of the questions we had prepared. But do join us next week as we come with another interesting episode of the People's Verdict. This has been Patrick Soko. Keep it on Camnet TV because Camnet TV is not just another channel.